So what we're going to do now is we're going to just continue where we left off last class with our model, and we're going to go from there. And I apologize if you guys are seeing like a little speck right here-ish. There's a dead pixel on my my DSLR, so I'm having to deal with that. If you're OCD like me, it kind of bothers you a lot, but I'll deal with it. All right, so yeah, let's dive in to our current state. So this is where we left off. We've worked on the sword, the shield. We've blocked those out. We've blocked out the bow and arrow, the quiver, the arrows, the rocks, the background environment. We've blocked out quite a bit of stuff. All right. So let me show you how I would block out something like that in the background there. All right, it's an interesting little piece of environment right back here. So let's go picture in picture, and I'm gonna turn on no board just so you guys can see what's going on as usual. You guys can see the keystrokes. You guys know, hey, these are the keys that he's using, and you don't have to really guess. And I'm going to try to go default as much as possible. Some stuff I do have my keyboard shortcuts for just because it makes it easier. And I would suggest that if you guys find yourself doing something over and over in 3ds Max or any software, try to find a way to make it a hotkey or something, because those little things help you speed up your workflow, speed up your process, and you'll get much more done. Those little seconds kind of add up at the end of the day. All right, a couple of seconds here, a couple of seconds there. Trust me, it could be the difference between getting a project in on time or spending more time than needed on it. So the next thing I wanted to do now is I wanted to just start taking these assets and taking them one at a time, so that you guys can see, how I kind of go about taking my pieces and then, modeling from them. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with these, either the shield. Let's start with the bow and arrow. All right, because the bow and arrow is one of those things that once we make half, we just symmetry it and do the other side. I think that would be a great start for us. So the first thing we're really going to need to do is find ourselves some reference of the bow and arrow. All right. So I'm going to start by creating a plane. This will be where I will place my reference. I'm in the front view, right? If you guys can see that, I'm clicking F to go to the front view. And that's what's bringing me here. If I hit W on the keyboard, that gives me my move tool, and I can move this guy around anywhere I want in that front view. Right. So let us continue this guy by, I'm going to go into this plane settings, and the default segment width right here, you can see it's got 1, 2, 3 length and width segments dividing our plane up, and I don't want that. Whenever I turn on my wireframe, I'm going to see it. I don't need it because this is an image reference plane. So I'm going to hit M on the keyboard. That is going to bring up my material editor. And I've already made one of these nodes for it. And in the future, if you guys are, you guys want to just do something quick, and if you already know where the directory is, right? If you've already made an image plane already, you can just select, drag over, right, and then double click into the bitmap settings, and then right here in the bitmap parameters you can click into it and it'll take you right back to that directory, and then you can pick the next image that you need to pick. But if you don't know how to do that, or you haven't made one and you want to know how to make one from scratch, I'm going to do it all over again just so you understand this process. All right, so I'm going to select a physical material from our material and map browser right here, drop it right into my slate editor here, and then I can just name it whatever I want to name it, reference image. And then I just want to either right click here and then in my maps, go to my general maps and find Bitmap, right? That will bring up this directory and I can search, or I can even type it in here if I want to find one. So Bitmap right here, maps general, and they always tell you the directory of where you can find these on here. So these are OSL maps, these are general maps, right? Just looking at this, the system, the software tries to give you a lot of this information up front. So if you read and you pay attention, little things like that, you'll start to understand how a lot of this stuff works. So I've got my bitmap here and it's got nothing attached to it. I'm just going to go into this bitmap parameters right in here, click in this none area, and I'm going to navigate, right? Navigate to wherever my images are. So if it's in my Zelda poster, I'm going to find my my references. All right. So here are my Zelda references. So I just want to find the bow and arrow. So I've got an image right here that I can use. I'm just going to drag and drop that in there. Right. So now I can drag, right, as you guys can see, I can drag and drop that into the base color map. So the base color map is now being powered by this bitmap. So now if I select on that node and select my image in the scene, right, make sure you got your image selected, I can then drop that guy right on there. And as you can see right now, our image, you know, this is an okay image, but let me finish this. All right. I'm going to throw a UVW map on here because it's kind of squashed and stretched, and that's because it's not using the proper aspect ratio. So we want to hit U on the keyboard, and it's going to take us to the modifiers with U as their starting letter. So I want to add a UVW map to it. And then I'm going to navigate to the bottom here. If this is too much, I'm going to navigate to the bottom, and then I'm going to click on bitmap fit, and now I can fit that to it. So now as you can see, it's using the proper aspect ratio, and I can go back into plane, right, and then just reduce the width till it encompasses what the actual reference is, right, just like that. But I'm going to see if we've got any better references for this. And if you guys are looking for these references, right, they're all in here. So I'm looking for like the starting one if anybody's found some better scenes. I think this is the one I have. Which isn't bad. This is a little better than the one I have. So I'm gonna save this one. Right. Let's save it. Here's my recent. So I'm gonna go back to Max. I have no idea where this directory is. Oh, okay. Projects, Zelda poster. Alright. So this PC. Oh no, it's not. Okay, so in my reference folder, I'm going to start dragging some of this reference that you guys have helped gather. So I'm just going to, whoops. I'm going to save this guy in here. And let's see if we've got anyone better. See, this one's not bad. I like this one too. It's a little blurrier, but we can still get some of the shapes, and it's closer to the actual. It's pretty close, and this one might be the best. Whoever got this reference, this is good stuff right here. That's good stuff. No, 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 no. No, maybe. Nah. Unless this is like a massive image. Nah, it's not. Like, it's okay, but it just isn't the best for what we're trying to do. And we don't need too much. You know, we just need enough. And I like this as well. But it is, you know, it is that chunky. I like it. All right. Oh, this is the reference I gathered. All right, so yeah, we're going to use a combination of these. So, yeah. All right. And I've got my reference here that I can now all right, now that I've made my new reference, I can just shift drag this guy, double click in here, and then start picking and pulling from the reference that I just got. All right. So now I can just select this guy, shift drag, make it a copy, and then add this guy to it. All right. Process is pretty simple. Bitmap fit. Find my reference, and it's going to fit that bitmap to the sheet using that aspect ratio. Now I can go back into my plane and then just expand the width like that, knowing that it's the actual aspect ratio of the image. All right, so I might just do just one more. Make a copy M on the keyboard. All right, just trying to bring in as much reference to give myself some decent views of what I've got to work with. I'm going to bring this guy in. I'm going to throw this guy on top like so. All right, you guys know the process by now. Then we're just going to go bitmap fit this guy, and then boom, make sure that he fits. And just like that. And I kind of like this one because it's kind of like our model sheet. Like, this is kind of like low key. Like, hey, these are all the assets. This is like his starter pack. So this one is probably, like I said, gonna win the cake, and we'll use these other guys as secondary and tertiary reference for what we need in here. Okay, yeah, this stuff is gonna be fun because like we've got some of this rope stuff. I like this. You know, this quiver. Ooh, some of this detail is going to be a little fun and interesting to make. You know, this shield, sword and shield. But yeah, we're going to start with this bow and arrow. All right, and you guys all have access to this reference as well because it's in your threads. It's in the assignments. You just look at the reference there. You can pull it yourself. Boom. I don't have to mess with that yet. So now you guys should be right here with me if you guys are following along. All right, so you guys should be right here with me. So now what I want to do is I'm just going to select all of these guys. Right click. I'm going to open up their object properties collectively. And then I'm going to uncheck show frozen in gray and freeze them. Because now I don't want to select them. Because the worst thing is I'm trying to work on something. I accidentally select it and move it. You know, you're prone to do that whenever you have your move tool selected, so you don't want to accidentally nudge things and stuff like that, and it just makes for a sad day. So let's begin our modeling process with this guy. All right. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of, you know, the same way I told you guys before, block your shapes out, and I'm going to start with a line the same way I did earlier. All right, so I'm just going to start with a line. Three, four, boom, boom. And then I've still got this guy dangling. Right click on my mouse to stop creating that. All right. So the next thing I want to create is the string. And I might not even, you know, use this entire length, but I'm just drawing it now. All right. So the next thing you're going to want to do is select this bow part right here. All right, enable it in rendering, in the renderer and in the viewport. And what I'm going to do is now, with my radial selected, I'm just going to increase it, increase the width. All right, just like that. I'm going to hit Alt and X. All right, so another thing you want to see is what your interpolation is. And that just determines how, you know, smooth your lines will come out in the end. But right now I've got this guy looking okay, and I like to keep it as low poly as possible because this allows me the most maneuverability with the model itself. What that means is it's easier right now to manipulate this amount of geometry than if I had something like, you know, twice the amount, 3 times the amount. And I'll show you what I mean. So now I'm just going to throw an edit poly modifier on there, right? And this is the essence of poly modeling right here. All right, so this is what I'm trying to show you guys. So I'm just gonna start selecting these guys. I'm gonna turn my snaps off, hit R on the keyboard, and actually let me hit Alt 1, right? And then I'm just gonna throw that polygon in there right here, and then hit R on my keyboard, right? And this is going to allow me to scale in the x-axis. I'm just going to scale it like that, make that line straight like so. All right. So I'm just going to throw it. As you guys can see, I'm aiming for where that lies. Because the idea is I'm going to symmetry this. I'm going to flip it on the other side, so I only have to make one side. All right, so I'm just going to select this guy. I'm making sure, right? I'm making sure that my my lines line up to where they need to be. I'm going to do the same for this side, all right? And then I can hit 2 on my keyboard, select that that right there, hit R, and then I'm going to scale it using this middle yellow because that's going to uniformly scale the entire thing. So now I'm making sure that I'm uniformly scaling, because what's going to happen is if I scale it on the X or something, it's going to scale that way. If I scale it on the Y, it's going to scale it that way, right? It all depends on what I'm scaling in or out or whatever. And you can even scale based on that, you know. So you just want to make sure, right, that you're scaling based on that middle one, which is going to uniformly scale the entire thing on its X, Y, and Z axis. All right, so I'm just following the silhouette of this model. The idea is you want to get the silhouette as close as possible, right? That's your job. Your job is to look at the silhouette, right? I'm gonna actually Alt 1 on the keyboard, bring this guy like right there. All right, I'm following the silhouette of the model, making sure that I've got the overarching shape of it. And the only way that I can do that is if I'm in this really low state of the model. So now I can hit 4 on my keyboard, select this guy, hit Shift, right, and then just inset that guy like so. All right, so I'm then gonna hit W or 2 on my keyboard, and then just move this guy a little bit like that, because it kind of bows out like that. If you see what it doesn't really show the bow there or there. So let's look at some more. It's always good to look at some more reference. So the best reference that I think I found. Let's see if we have anything HD. See these, you know, I feel like these guys are. Let's see. Yeah, it's just really, you know, hard to see. So we're just going to go with the reference we have and then just create it that way. All right, so I'm going to hit Alt-1 on the keyboard, and that's going to bring up my Swift Loop option. So, you know, once again, it's in your modeling tab right up here, Swift Loop, like so. But if I hold down Shift, it's going to try to average those normals for me. So it's just going to try to do an average. So I'm going to hit Alt-1 right here. Right? You see that it's trying to average that loop in between this guy and this guy. All right, so it does a decent job. I'm going to do Alt-1, Shift, hold down. And if I do it just regularly, right, if I just do it one, it's going to make it straight. But now on this one, I want to kind of rotate it. But what I don't want it to do is deform the shape like it is. So what I can do is just, oops, right, I turned on my edge constraint right over here. So now I can just turn that like so. All right. So if I hit 1 on my keyboard, I can pull this guy. Whoops. I'm still stuck on my edge constraint because like I tried to move it and you saw how it messed up the edges. It's constraining those verts to the edge. So for me to be able to move them again, right? If you guys mess this up and you're like, why is it not working? Just click none, right? And then you're good to go. So I'm going to hit R. I'm just going to scale this up a little bit. And then hit 4 on the keyboard, F again. And then just, I'm just going to actually, whoops, Control Z. I'm going to grow this, and I'm going to delete that. Grow this, I'm just going to delete this chunk, because I don't really need it anymore. Because I've already made my little hoof. My little hoof feet. Hoof shoe thing. Alright, so now, we can actually just cap this off. If we select the border, right, I can right click on this and I can cap that. So it gives me a polygon at the end of this guy. Just like that. All right. So I've got these two right here. I think I might want to remove this guy. Like that. So I've got something more like that now. So if I turn off my my X-ray view, you guys can see how my silhouette is looking. So let me pull this guy away from the reference a little bit. All right, and this is just, you know, this is how you would start blocking out the shapes for your model, right? And for you guys, a lot of what's going to start messing you guys up, or not messing you guys up, but what's going to give you some issues right now is just the navigation in general. It's going to feel like a totally different language, and I totally understand that. But once you get through that, you're going to understand it. Your main, you know, you're going to spend like 50 minutes doing this. You're just like trying to see all of the angles and what's going on, and not enough time actually modeling. But you know, you do want to spend some time rotating around your model to make sure that it looks right, because what you guys will do if you're too new to this is you won't look at it from another angle and you don't realize that it looks wrong from another angle, and you'll leave it that way not knowing. So I'm just going to hit P on my keyboard so I can see how it looks in perspective. All right, this is cool. We've got something pretty interesting going on here. All right, so let's see. So the next thing I want to do is kind of block out this this guy as well. So what we can do is hit 3 on the keyboard, 4, and actually let's refine this a little bit more, just because I think we're gonna need some of that geo. Whoops, sorry. Right, I was kind of lost as to where I am, but I knew I had it selected, so I just hit Z on the keyboard and it brings me right into where I need to go. And I'm just like, okay, thank you. Whew, I thought I was lost for a second, but now I'm found. All right, so let's throw the chamfer on this guy and let's just see. Here we go, something like that. And what I like to do is, you see how like this guy isn't straight? I don't like that at all. Like, I like to make sure that it's straight first, but I think there's something wrong with this guy. So let's do control, whoops, control Z. Let's hit F on the keyboard. This guy seems straight enough. Let's do one right here. I'm going to hold down shift once again, and then hold down shift once again for that. And that's going to give me just a little bit better. And then I'm just going to scale this guy in like so. So now I'm just working with a little more geometry. Is, you know, what you want to do is really, you really want to kind of even it out, because I've got a lot of long rectangles here, and I kind of want to make them a little more square. So whenever I go in and do something like that, I like to kind of, see, that's too much. So I'm going to do one right here. Move it just a little slightly down like so, just to make sure that they're more evenly spaced and they're more quadded out. All right, so let's go to this guy right here. I'm just gonna hit Alt and Y. All right, now let's look at our reference again. So this is like some sort of like interesting horseshoe thing that they've got going on here. All right, and yeah, let's attack some of this stuff right here. They're just not very good renders of what it looks like. So maybe I can find one here of that spot. It's not bad. There we go. This is a pretty good one. Okay. So it's kind of sharp. Right? As you guys can see, look, there is kind of like a sharp end to this guy. So we might need to make some modifications to our model. But yeah, this is kind of like his grip right here. So we're going to need to keep that like that. So it's kind of like a grip. That's cool. All right. So it's got a piece right here. Let's do Alt 1 like that. And then it's got some stuff tied around it. It's being depicted as brown over there. Okay. So that's like part of the rope. It's part of the bowstring. See what it is in the game. Because this looks like a game shot, so I would trust this before I trusted anything else. Okay, I like this. Okay. Alright. So the process for creating this guy would be relatively simple. All you would need to do is select these polys right here. Just gonna go ahead and select this guy as well, and you're going to detach it as a clone of itself. So it's going to duplicate this selection set that I have into a new edit poly mesh. So now if I go, I have this piece right here. So what I can do is with this piece, select this outer edge, right, and then start manipulating it to match our reference. So hit 2 on the keyboard, hit R like so. All right. All right. And it doesn't have to be perfect, like super perfect. We're blocking out right now, as you guys can see. All right, blocking it out, just making sure all the stuff that's there needs to be there, and you know. And as you guys could tell, it was like, let's go to the top view. It was like, you know, something like that. So just selecting that. And then instead of being all flared out like this, it was more, let's bring this guy up. It was more sharper. It was a lot sharper on those edges. All right. So what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to get that same shape that they've got going on right there. Let's actually bring this guy back like so. Just gonna try to, you know, just using, let's go to F front view. We're just using the reference to create what we see there. All right, literally pushing and pulling verts. And as you guys can see, I'm in my front view just to make sure that everything goes smoothly and nothing really goes awry. So just pushing and pulling. And that's why, you know, I was saying earlier, you guys need to be changing the views and seeing what's going on and moving around. All right, because as you guys can see, there's a cut right in here. All right. So another thing I can do now is I can hide this guy right here. Just hide these guys, and as you guys can see, I've got my reference right under there. All right. So if I wanted to start making those cuts, I would start making those cuts right then. But you know, today is about blocking, so I'm just gonna block out all of these shapes for today. All right. And then over the next few days, we'll finish it out. So for us, let's throw, just so I can, you know, show you guys what this blocking is gonna eventually get us. We're just gonna do a mirror. We're gonna do a mirrored instance on the x-axis. I'm just gonna pull this guy over here just so you guys can see it. So Alt X. So here is the start. All right, here's the blocking for our bow and arrow. So you hide this guy right here. All right. So we've got about 5 or so more minutes left together. Does anyone have any questions for me?